Hello, this video is directed to the person who responded to what I wrote on Quora. I'm not going to say your name, I'm not going to provide a link. I want to honor your anonymity. And you did share that publicly, so I'm going to share my response publicly. And before I hop into the places where I disagree with what you wrote and actually feel that what you wrote is very harmful and very untrue, I just want to say that I looked over some of your writings online, and it's I kind of have a I kind of have some sadness in my heart because we have some common interests, and some of what you wrote, I saw quite a bit of insight, and I found very helpful. And so I'm sad that in terms of this is the first time we've connected in this lifetime, that this is the foot we're getting off to. With that said, the comment that you wrote, I am going to read your comment for anybody who. Uh, so I wrote about my spiritual journey. I wrote about how I've suffered a lot, how a lot of my suffering was caused by chasing after these elevated spiritual states, and how I was really looking to Buddhism to end my addiction to spiritual highs and just find a lasting wholeness and peace. And you, this person wrote, with respect and practical understanding of your journey, peace and wholeness is the last junk we need to let go of. Dot dot dot. So my when I first read that, I honestly felt revulsion and not quite nausea, but not nausea, of just like just an absolute no to what you were saying. And as I sat with it, the no got a little more clear. No, this person has no practical understanding of my journey, like zero. No, peace and wholeness are not junk. And um, whether or not they are the last thing, the idea that peace and wholeness are junk, that's actually garbage. In my view, that idea is garbage, toxic, and insane. No, no, thank you, no fucking way. In terms of a spiritual process, peace and wholeness may be the last thing to let go of. And that, in my experience, in my study, yes, it's possible to develop attachment even to peace, even to wholeness. Uh, and yet, many classical teachers describe the goal as peace and wholeness and serenity and equanimity. So I'm not going to argue with you about that. Uh, but what I am going to say is you're not you're not teaching, you're preaching. In my view, you have a formula in mind, and this formula is peace and wholeness are the last junk to let go of. And you're trying to squeeze me into that formula. And so that's not teaching, that's preaching. Because teaching is where you meet the person where they are and help them take the next step forward. And if you read what I wrote and you think that the next step forward, because you say that you have a practical understanding of my journey, if you read what I wrote and you think that your advice, or guidance, or peace and wholeness is the last junk we need to let go of, is a teaching I need, with respect, in that moment, you're completely deluded and insane. Underneath what you wrote is the idea, it's kind of implied, but that what you wrote is somehow spiritual or dharmic, or that it's some kind of teaching. And I absolutely reject all of those. Reading what you wrote, I don't think you're qualified to teach anyone I won't say anything, but any sort of advanced spiritual teaching or guidance, because in my understanding, further down the path, it's less about teaching and more about guiding, like meeting the person where they are and seeing what the next step is for them. And I know for a fact you're not qualified to do that for me. And I'd be willing to bet a lot of money that you're not qualified to do that for anybody. But I leave that to you and those other people to figure out. I am crystal clear in this moment um, that you can't do that for me. Well, let me put it this way: if how you showed up in your response is how you show up in general, you're you're not you have nothing to offer me in terms of guidance. Like maybe if you showed up on a good day, um, maybe if you had a moment of intuition, that you could, but given how you showed up on our first date, that's not going to happen. So, so right here, right now, uh, I feel a little self conscious because let's face it, you wrote like 2 sentences, and here I am. I can't see how long this video is. It's like, you know, a 6 minute video at this point. I feel a little self conscious, but I also don't because what you did, uh, I consider it to be a kind of mental virus that's spiritual mental virus that's spreading throughout the spiritual world. And that is people who have set themselves up as teachers, uh, who think they're enlightened, but they aren't actually enlightened, going around uh, giving bad spiritual guidance. I know this because I spent 20 years receiving horrific spiritual guidance in the Neo-Advaita world. And what you wrote is is really just the Buddhist point of it's like Neo-Advaita with a little Buddhist language sprinkled in. Uh, so to 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 maybe finish where I started, I just consider you a beautiful, beautiful being. I really wish I had started with this. That I don't see you as any different from me. Is a inherently pure, beautiful being who still has some defilements. Um, yeah, I really wish I'd started with that, but here we are. Um, so I bear you no ill will, and I am 1,000% no, absolute and complete no to the words you wrote, to you as a teacher for me, to you having guidance for me. I mean, you're definitely a teacher for me in the sense that the things that everything in life that doesn't feel good is a teacher. Uh, and to be very blunt, and I'm talking about your ideas. I'm not talking about you. Um, what you presented, in my view, is evil, insane, delusional, and it's really kind of the most nasty form of delusion because it's pretending to be spiritual. It's pretending to be dharmic, but it isn't. And so, uh, I'm just a full-on rejection to it and to you as a teacher, but I'm not a full-on rejection to you as the beautiful being that you are, as the being who is growing and learning, and as the being who wants to help people. I mean, is there anything more beautiful than the desire to help? So I think that's all I have to say. Um, I feel like there's one more thing. I'm just going to sit with it for a moment. You know, in my understanding of Zen Buddhism, I can see a time and place where a Zen master says exactly what you said to the exact right student in the exact right moment, and it lead to an opening and an awakening. But the thing is the word Zen means uh, operating from the intuitive mind or beyond the rational mind in the state of intuition. And in terms of, the right thing for the right person at the right time, what you wrote is the exact opposite. But in a kind of paradoxical way, I mean, in a kind of paradoxical way, it was exactly the right thing that I needed to hear uh, for my journey, not in giving me an opportunity to fully reject it. So, uh, so thank you, truly. And I know that can sound like kind of a twisted, kind of like I'm gonna say thank you, but what I really mean is F you, and that's not how I feel at all. I'm honestly very grateful that you did what you did, and I'm very grateful, actually. I bear you no ill will, and just with all the all the fervor of my being, I say no to the energy with which you approached me, and to the way in which you responded to what I shared, and to the teaching you offered. Wishing you nothing but happiness and joy. Big love.